That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Tyler Perry's Duplicity, the 27th film from Mr. Perry, which Amazon Prime became responsible for on March 20th, 2025.
Y'all know Tyler Perry. We've reviewed many things. I recommend people start with our Beauty in Black reviews, but we've done Mea Culpa, Divorce in the Black,
A Jazz Man's Blues,
I think
The 6888,
Medea's Homecoming. What is Tyler Perry's Duplicity about? High-powered attorney Marley faces her most personal case yet when she is tasked with uncovering the truth behind the shooting of her best friend Fela's husband. What is your pull quote?
Despite a title featuring a potential Freudian slip, Tyler Perry's Duplicity is yet another nonsensical, inane, instantly forgettable time suck from a filmmaker who disdains films. With his latest rush job so arrogantly vapid, Perry doesn't seem to realize its gross exploitation of real-world ills.
Ooh, mine has two of the same words. Tyler Perry bolsters his filmography with yet another barrage of dumb characters doing nonsensical things while drowning in an inane narrative that takes entirely too long to arrive at its ridiculous conclusion.
Oh. Snap. Bam.
This was just terrible as they always are.
You said something that I think is pretty apt about you can't be simple and confusing.
Right, his writing is so basic, but it's every Tyler Perry movie we've ever watched at home. Mm-hmm. We have to pause it, rewind, because we're baffled at how this can be so nonsensical. And we must have missed something. And then we rewind to find out that we did not miss anything. It's just dumb. Okay, the story is about a man named
Rodney.
Mm-hmm. A black man who is shot by the police while unarmed. He's just walking, listening to music, and he's shot and killed. Thankfully, his wife, Fela, her best friend, Marley, is a high-powered attorney. So she tells her homegirl, don't worry, I'm going to sue the city for all they're worth. We don't know what city or state they're in, but...
I think it's Chesterfield is the name of this made-up. It's like Anywhere USA, but it feels like it's...
Well, the cars have license plate that say Scenic State, but they don't say what state it is. The city is also described as Murderapolis.
They're like crime-ridden, but everywhere is beautiful. It could be Eugene, Oregon, or New Haven, Connecticut.
Right. If you close your eyes, you think you're in Gotham, the way they're talking about it. But then it looks like a picturesque town from a Stephen King book. It's crazy. But anyway, Marley says we're going to sue the city for everything they're worth. So as she's working through the details of the case, which really amounts to her asking the neighbor a question, thankfully, Marley has Fela's co-workers, because Fela is a news anchor for a local news program called 3 Early Hour Time, which we need to get back to. Some of Fela's colleagues who consider themselves investigative reporters decide to help Marley. And they uncover some sort of weird things, like maybe Rodney was having an affair, and that's why he was in this house, because a neighbor calls the police and says there's someone breaking into my neighbor's house, when all it is Rodney walking very casually into someone's house. He didn't case it.
It's open.
He wasn't looking through the windows. He literally walks in there as if he knows who lives there. So that's why the police get called on him. They show up, kill him. Okay, the two officers that show up, one is RonReaco.
Kevin. RonReaco Lee is Kevin.
And then the other is Caleb, this white guy.
Jimi Stanton.
And all of a sudden it turns into a media firestorm, because we're told that violence in this city is at an all-time high. Police shootings are at an all-time high.
Many black men have been killed by these police.
Unarmed black men have been killed. So protests, riots happen because of it. But after 4 months of rioting and protesting, Marley is able to secure a settlement. And then things get even more weird, because all of a sudden, Fela vanishes. So that's weird. When one day Marley is at the gym and she gets kidnapped. Who kidnapped her? Caleb, the white police officer who shot Rodney.
And there's an arrest. He's a wanted man at this point, yes.
And we're told that he's a fugitive. So Caleb kidnaps Marley, puts her in the back of this van, and there are some other people in the van. One of whom is this young woman who is the one Rodney was supposed to be having an affair with.
He was having an affair with her, but she was not in that house? We don't know anything about the house or how that house came to be a place where he was meeting. Her name is, what's her name? Anna Lewis or whatever.
Also in the van is Caleb's wife, who happens to be a black woman. So they basically say Caleb's not racist. All that background information they got on him was him being discharged from the military because he was trying to defend his black wife. And the racial slurs that he allegedly used, she said he did not use. And then Anna Lewis, the young lady who Rodney was, I guess, having an affair with, says that she was actually in a relationship with RonReaco's character and that he's a monster.
He's the devil.
He is literally the devil.
Just like the man in Confessions, Temptations of a Marriage Counselor.
So everything kind of blows up because now Marley suspects that, something's not right. And Anna Lewis, that young lady, tells Marley, I have proof that RonReaco's responsible. I have recordings and text messages on a cell phone that I put in his house and taped in a bathroom. So if you can get in there and get it, that's all the proof you need.
This is explained to us not quite so clearly or coherently.
So Marley shows up at this house and RonReaco lives in a mansion. Like a legit mansion that he says has 12 bathrooms. And he's driving a Lamborghini. RonReaco's character is a police officer. So, of course, we know that something's not right. We never learn what his hustle is that has afforded him this lifestyle. However, what we find out is Marley has a boyfriend of 8 months named Tony.
Tony Crenshaw, PI.
Tony Crenshaw, PI. And he used to be part of the same police department as RonReaco, but was let go.
The DA, the 25-year-old DA, had it in for him.
So when Marley shows up at RonReaco's mansion, all of a sudden her boyfriend Tony's there. Which is very suspect.
He shows up behind her like, boo, bitch, guess who it is?
Yeah.
I suspected something was wrong. What?
Keeping in mind that Marley is supposed to be this high-powered attorney, but everything she does is so nonsensical.
She's another in a long line of Tyler Perry heroines that are actually very weak and passive, and I don't know how they're surviving.
So the film sort of ends with Marley showing up to this mansion. Tony shows up. It becomes clear immediately that Tony and RonReaco are in cahoots and that they're aware that Marley has to be dealt with. But then the other gag is that Fela was in cahoots with Tony and RonReaco.
But if you clock that she's in on it from
jump, but I mean, I hope someone can comment to clarify, but I don't understand how Fela got connected with RonReaco's character in this murder plot to get money, which we need to get to. But everything culminates in Marley being drugged at RonReaco's mansion. He and Tony, along with Fela, put her on a boat because his mansion, I guess, is like lakefront property. I'm not sure what they thought they were going to do to her because as they're taking her out to the middle of this lake, she wakes up and they panic. Like, what are we going to do with her? I don't know. What were you going to do with her? But thankfully, like a Marine patrol person shows up and thinks something is suspicious. So RonReaco and Tony kill this cop on the boat.
And knock his little boat over.
Capsize him and sink the boat. And then they dump Marley into the lake.
Tied to the anchor.
Chained to an anchor. Like Jason Voorhees.
Or I was going to say Holly Hunter in the piano, but...
And somehow she is able to get out, like Houdini style. We see her like handcuffed in chains to this like big block, and somehow she's able to get out. She jumps back onto the boat and then kills Fela, Tony, and RonReaco using a flare gun. And then we cut to her having being interviewed by the same morning show Fela worked on by the investigative reporter who was helping her. And then we see that Caleb, the white cop, is exonerated. And then she gives this long monologue that...
Talking about how we still need to believe or investigate black men that are shot by police. But in this case...
I have a headache just trying to describe this movie.
It was almost like Tyler Perry's like, I gotta try to write that I'm not totally dismissing the seriousness or the gravity of what I'm using in this film.
First of all, I think it's so disrespectful to incorporate this very serious, like, public safety issue, right? And then he uses it as a plot point for like this jealousy, like
nonsense. This nonsense.
Murder thriller that's so dumb, and then tries to sort of, it kind of gets bookended with like this social issue, but the middle is just nonsense.
If you could even call it that. But yeah, you see this black man get shot. It's a violent scene, and then it gets replayed for a character that's supposed to care for him. And poor Cat Graham is...
Well, we didn't even talk about... Cat Graham is Marley. And she tries.
She is giving a performance, but she's not... There's no one driving the... there's no one flying the plane. There's no director that's like, whoa, you gotta back up. Don't scream so loud, the sobbing. Because when she sees the... police footage of Rodney, she's going in. I haven't seen something like that since Nicolas Cage watching that snuff film in 8mm, where it's like, whoa, you're...
Well, we need to get back to that.
Okay.
Let me just get through these notes. What city are we in? We are told that this city is in shambles. RonReaco's character, who's like, I guess like the police captain, is... you know how, or
I don't think he's a captain, but
he's like higher up because he's the one who briefs all the cops.
giving a presentation.
Well, like in every cop show, there's that one cop who briefs all the cops on their shift, like, this is what's going on. And so he's showing this chart of the city and describing like an unbelievable amount of violence and crime. Like, it's unbelievable. So it seems like we're in this horrible place, except that it's beautiful and picturesque. Every home we see looks like it's $1 million home. Everyone's very well put together. Fela, who plays Fela?
Meagan Tandy, no relation to Jessica.
So Marley calls her Fela, but everyone else calls her Fela. So I'm not quite sure how to pronounce her name.
Fela.
The minute we meet her, she is miserable, and immediately it seems like she is up to something. It's such a poor characterization.
Yeah.
Were you suspicious of her immediately?
Immediately.
She's so funky. And the opening scene is that Marley, her husband Tony, Fela, and RonReaco are leaving a spin class. And RonReaco's flirting kind of with Fela. And she's just being so stank about it. But the way the scene is set up, it's like these people are friendly. But then once you realize that she's in cahoots with all of them, it's like, oh, she's trying to act like she doesn't like this man.
Yes. Well, once the reveal happens, once all the pieces fit together, what everybody's doing and why, none of this shit makes sense.
Okay. None of it makes sense at any point, because
well, that's true too, but going back
when they leave the gym, Marley is like, oh, we have to go have breakfast. We have to go have Mama M's. She says it like 4 times.
And Fela's like, I've got to get to the station. She says that like 8 times. Like, what station?
She keeps saying, I have to get to the station. Yeah, what station are you talking about? They're all wearing gym clothes. Then we see everyone show up at Mama M's from the gym, except that Fela is fully done up. Like, she's fully gotten dressed for whatever her job is. Then we have the most awkward breakfast scene where Marley's saying like to Fela and her husband, Rodney, okay guys, what's up? You haven't been acting like normal. You need to tell me what's going on. Also, what was so confusing to me is Rodney and Tony don't get along. And it is never explained why.
Well, it is eventually.
Well, that Tony knew that
Rodney was having an affair and he didn't like that because that's ungentlemanly, and so he didn't want to hang out with him.
But you're also involved in a murder plot.
Yes.
So
it makes no sense when it comes out like
what's your morality?
You wouldn't have said that earlier, yes.
Okay, so super awkward breakfast. Then we see Fela go to work.
It's like, how early were you working?
And this heifer works as a news anchor for a local TV show called Early for Us. Okay, so then I'm thinking, how early were they at the gym? How early are they at breakfast for her to go to work doing the news on the early show for us? Then I'm thinking, is Tyler Perry trying to make Early for Us like CP time? And I
think that would be more subtle than he's worthy of being.
What does it mean then? Why does she keep saying I have to get to work at the early show, but then you had time to work out and go have breakfast?
Full face of makeup and hair is ready to go.
But I know that, like, I've known morning news anchors who get up at like 1:30 in the morning to be ready by. That's a thing. But these people were out like.
It's daylight.
It's like daylight.
Daylight
like
is
9, 10 o'clock. What is the meaning of this? What does early for us mean?
Her keep saying, I've got to get to the station, made me think of, this is going to ruin the tour.
Okay. Then that poor actor playing the white lady who calls the police on Rodney.
Oh, it's bad.
That scene is horrible. The acting's horrible. So basically, there's this white lady in her house in a very beautiful neighborhood in a very beautiful house, and her phone rings. And it's a woman saying, hey, it's your neighbor, like from like the house behind your fence. It looks like someone's trying to break into your house.
There's a black man in your alley.
There's a black man like walking towards your house. You better call 911. So the lady immediately hangs up, calls 911, and then says, there's a black man breaking into my neighbor's house. So this is like a third hand, like 911 call. Like someone called you to call the police on your neighbor's house. Why couldn't your neighbor have called the police? But anyway, RonReaco and Caleb are sitting.
They pulled over somebody and RonReaco says, don't give them a ticket, it'll take too long.
And it's all suspicious because we find out that Caleb was not supposed to be like shadowing RonReaco. But that morning, RonReaco told him, you're going to shadow me today. That's why I figured he was like the boss, because he could make their schedule.
In fact, they're in the wrong zone.
And then we find out this whole thing about how RonReaco wasn't even supposed to be in the zone that day. That's why Marley knew that something was fishy. But he tells police dispatch when he hears the call, like burglary suspect at 123 Main Street. RonReaco goes, oh, we're half a block away. We'll be right there.
He takes off
Like y'all could have walked that half a block.
Burns rubber.
Gets there and immediately they run down the driveway with their guns drawn. And poor Rodney walks up. And this man fully looks like someone taking a casual walk after a run. He's presents very well. He's wearing gym clothes and a hoodie, clearly listening to music, and they're telling him to stop, but he doesn't know because he can't hear them. And then he pulls out something from his phone. And I knew immediately when RonReaco told Caleb, if you hear gun, you have to shoot.
Like a dog.
So yeah, like a Pavlovian response. Sure enough, as soon as Rodney sees the police and kind of panics and pulls his arms out of his pockets, RonReaco yells gun and Caleb shoots him. But then Caleb realizes, oh my gosh, this person didn't have a gun. It was just their cell phone. Caleb tries to perform like life-saving whatever, and RonReaco stops him.
He's dead. He's gone.
Which I also don't understand because we see body cam footage, which looks so fake. Because you know I watch a lot of body cam stuff on YouTube. This looked like the most ridiculous body cam footage. But it clearly shows...
You mean like it wasn't well researched and...
Like, it clearly shows... Yeah, Tyler Perry's never seen real body cam footage. It clearly shows that this man did not have a gun in his hand because it's shot in like 8K Ultra HD.
Yeah,
because the DA, which you already mentioned this scene, when Marley goes to see the DA to tell her, we're going to sue you for everything you're worth, the DA goes, I'm going to shut you up. Look at this video, and literally puts the laptop in front of this woman.
And she goes, click.
Clicks play, doesn't warn her that she's about to see her best friend's husband be gunned down. And poor Cat Graham, like you already said, her reaction is unfortunately hilarious. But from the footage, we can see that this man did not draw a gun. He clearly did not have a gun on him. And that when the white cop attempted to perform life-saving services, that RonReaco stopped him. We see it in the video.
There are two things. See, this is one of many countless instances where Tyler Perry puts in all these details, but they don't add up, so everything's like nonsensical. Because that old white lady, when questions like, oh, it was horrible hearing him moaning because he was moaning forever. No, it doesn't show that. And then the DA is very insistent with Kat Graham, saying, that phone looks like a gun. I would have done the same thing. She said, it's huge, it's black, it's unusual.
What?
Okay. And the DA is another black woman who looks quite young for this position.
And was poorly directed with very questionable acting and dialogue. Okay, so we know Fela is an anchor for 3 Early for Us. And so she is reading, they're doing a segment on something very frivolous, like how to pull the veins out of shrimp, something stupid, when all of a sudden she goes, oh, we have a special report. Another unarmed black man was shot down and killed in the neighborhood of whatever, Crackerjack.
Ragdoll, the
And
ragdoll.
then she says his name.
And it's her.
And it's her husband.
And you hear somebody like, cut to commercial.
Cut to commercial. How hacky was that? I mean, it's just so...
Well, especially when you learn, there are so many conversations that happen between the characters that are actually in cahoots, that it's like, these people wouldn't be saying that. It's to fool the audience who's giving their time, they're investing their time in this product.
There's one scene in particular where the 3 baddies, the 3 people who orchestrated this murder, are talking to each other. And still maintaining this facade.
Yes, but it's like they wouldn't say that to each other.
But they wouldn't be talking to each other
unless they were being recorded, or somebody else that was not involved would still need to be fooled.
Another dumb scene is poor Rodney's funeral, because Fela and crew show up, and then like a competing news team shows up.
Again, the details that we get. It's a new news station.
But the investigative team from Fela's news team, which those 2 guys...
those were Sam and Shannon.
Didn't they seem like a gay couple?
Yes, they are together all the time.
Why are they always together?
And Shannon in particular seems very interested in Fela, but like her wardrobe and how she presents herself.
It's very odd.
And because he comments out about she works out, and he's like, I have to work out a lot more than you.
It's like Don Lemon and Anderson Cooper
Yeah.
doing investigative shit in Chesterfield, USA.
Chesterfield, which I think was Joan Crawford's favorite brand of cigarette. We have that.
Yes, that's right. So at the funeral, they see this competing local news station reporting on the service, and Fela confronts them screaming, and then the other guy, is his name Sam?
The white one, yeah.
He confronts the lady and goes, this is why you and your news station suck. This right.
You and your new station, yeah, like, okay.
Then
and that white lady with the flat hair, she doesn't even get any dialogue. She's just
standing there looking confused. Like, I'm
looks.
just reporting the news. There are literally people protesting about this death.
I'm doing my job.
Okay, then we get to the wake. And RonReaco shows up, but at this point we don't know that he's responsible. So all we know is that Fela had already said that she doesn't like him. She doesn't want him around her, to his face.
Yes, before he was involved in the death of her husband.
So he shows up at the funeral, or the wake. Why?
And Tony's like, you better get out of here before, oh, there she is. And she, of course, starts screaming.
But Tony is in cahoots with...
So why would he do that?
And why would she react? Like, I don't even understand why they put on this show.
Because
why would the cop who was partially responsible for murdering this man, why does he feel the need to show up?
But he's not the cop being prosecuted.
No.
It's not like there is even a need to make these extravagant performances in public so that they can establish that she's a wronged woman needing money. Like, there's no reason to do that.
But if Fela wasn't already suspicious, after the wake and the services, all that, she is talking to her best friend Marley.
No, it's at the wake in her bedroom where she's talking about how she doesn't have enough money. And
that's right.
What am I supposed to do now? He
like, the gyms aren't doing well, so I guess they own some gyms, and
he took care of everything.
And they don't have life insurance. I can't afford to live.
Like, they don't pay you very
okay,
well.
but you're a news anchor, and your co-anchor drives like a $75,000 Land Rover.
Right.
So I don't understand. Like, you can't afford to live. Like, I mean, do you not make the same? I don't understand.
And Marley's like, girl, I got you.
Don't worry. Then we see Marley and her man, who have only been together for 8 months.
Cooks her breakfast every day. They seem picture perfect.
Until, well, before we get to that, at one point, Tony tells Marley, well, we can help Fela. We can dip into some of that inheritance.
And she goes,
what?
That's why I love you.
What?
That's why I love you. Then wait till you see how she dogs this man out.
Oh my God. But at first, so then when it's presented to Marley that Rodney was cheating on Fela with this young woman, then we hear about this rented house that he was going to, and how it would, like, well, who owns the house? An LLC layered with shell companies. Okay.
But I was so confused. Is that the house that RonReaco eventually has purchased? Or whose house was Rodney murdered at? Who was going there? Rodney was also only in there for minutes for the cops to show up. And, you know, like, so the woman he was sleeping with.
Okay, let's talk about that. So this whole thing was orchestrated so that Fela orchestrated the murder of her husband because she was tired of his ass, he was cheating on her, and had ruined them financially. So her plan for this man who does not even have life insurance is to have a city cop kill him so she can sue the city. That is the premise of her murder plot. So many things have to align for that to make sense. Primarily that this white cop would shoot Rodney.
A white cop that, with the details we get, are that he
has a history of being blamed for racist behavior.
Not only that, but that was not true because...
And then we ultimately learn that that's not true. So he would be extra diligent about
not shooting a black man.
Why would...
Because of his... Again, although, you know, when we see his black wife and she turns around like, you think he's racist? It's like, well, just because a white person is married to a black person does not mean they're not racist. Remember Michael Rappaport for Evidence and Bamboozled. But this Caleb would not have heard gun and say like, I'm gonna shoot that man. They just, no. I don't believe that.
So at one point, Marley is talking to Fela's boss. What's his name? The other one. The one, like the co-anchor.
Shannon. Shannon's the co-anchor. Sam is...
Shannon. And they're talking, and Shannon's talking about some of the evidence they have, and he just very casually says, well, maybe Fela's responsible. Why? Why would you... How would he think that the wife of this man who was killed by the cops, like, is he implying that Fela paid this white cop to kill Rodney? That makes no sense. I'm speechless. Like, after he said it, I just thought, like, why would this character say that?
There are just so many. Also, Tyler Perry writes these women that it's so cliche. Like, if these were white women in films in like the 80s and 90s, people would be so up in arms about how cliched and stereotyped they are, because it's like Kat Graham, granted she sees a traumatic footage of a person she knows and maybe loved die, but she has to pull over and start sobbing. It's like these women that all have to have these breakdowns all the time, and then Tony has to come drive and he has to take her home, and you're not even going to drive your car today.
There's a scene because Fela is not communicating with Marley. Like, she's saying, I don't want you to come see me. I don't want you here. Don't come over. But of course, Marley wants to check on her friend, who we understand is like on bereavement leave and is distraught, but is fully done up.
Wearing a robe though to connote.
Full face of makeup, her wig is fully installed.
But she's like burning pictures of her dead husband in the
drinking Pinot Grigio.
In the fire pit. I'm like, girl, that smoke's gonna get in your hair. I don't know.
But we get a scene where Marley goes to visit Fela unannounced and sees someone jumping out of the second floor of Fela's house. Who is that? What was the purpose of that?
Also, what is that alarm? The alarm's going off. Window open. That's what alerts her to the fugitive.
And then we see that Fela had taken a sleeping pill, so she was unaware. But the really crazy part of that scene is, did you notice how Marley opened the door? So she had a spare key, so she unlocks it. But then she pushes the door open like there's 100-pound Saint Bernard sitting in front of it. What? Why? And then we get in the house, we see there's nothing.
Because what was it? Would it be so RonReaco isn't discovered there by Marley, but then he could just hide in any old room until she leaves? Like I don't, or to make Fela seem like more of a victim. Just the construction of none of it makes sense.
When Marley gets kidnapped, the way she's screaming, "Let me out of this bag!"
Oh, she is.
Let me. She is hysterical, like a wild cat.
Which is just funny.
At one point, they're talking about when Marley's meeting with the DA, and she's like, "Well, the hiring practices back then for Caleb."
He's a rookie.
He's a rookie. He was
new.
hired like not that long ago.
What has changed in the hiring practice?
But then, of course, after Marley gets kidnapped and convinced that maybe Caleb was wrongfully accused or set up, she goes to meet him at the Beauty in Black motel.
I'm like, that for sure is the same set.
I think it is
It's the same. But before that, it's the second time we see Kat Graham has been working out and she wears color-coded athletic wear. They give her lots of breast sweat. I don't know if you noticed that. We see it twice. It's like...
She's working hard.
She is...
Man, that damn green screen when they were on the boat is pretty funny. The only thing I think I want to say is... When you think about these people and how they use such an awful political hot button to deceive us all, what do you say to that?
I'd say throw it away, burn it, never look at it again.
The only interesting thing is the final credits. There's a song that features the Lady of Rage. So now I want to find that song.
There were just so many things because when did we even talk about how Tony gets cast onto the couch for 4 months?
Oh my gosh. So, okay, let's end on that because Tyler Perry loves to have these like these rules to live by, which I would not trust someone who, his relationship advice will ruin anyone's dating life because he makes these characters seem like if you cheat on me once or if you lie to me, it's over. There's no room, there's no gray area. So Marley keeps talking about how much her last boyfriend lied to her.
He was gaslighting me.
So
I have trust issues.
And so she's talking to her new boyfriend who she's been with for 8 months, like, you know how I feel about that and you lied to me. He didn't lie to you, lady. He's a private investigator. He found out some stuff. Wouldn't it be a conflict for him to talk to you about the stuff he found as like an attorney representing someone else?
It's also like that could be, even though he ends up being dirty, it's like that could be explained away as like, I didn't want to cause that kind of drama.
But she gets mad and tells him he has to sleep on the couch.
She goes, you know my motto. Lie about one thing, lie about everything.
What?
Okay.
And we flash forward 4 months once she manages the settlement. And we see that Tony is still sleeping on the couch.
He's like, can I come back to the bedroom? Also, they're just dating. Do you not have your own place? You have a nice office, even though...
Well, speaking of his office, it was very Bob Hoskins from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Or Philip...
Tyler Perry writes these characters so basic.
That could have been
I'm a banker. I'm a lawyer. Mallory Ballallery being like the executive for a beauty empire, and all she ever has are Post-its and pens.
Yes, no laptops. That could have been an office from Philip Marlowe, the Raymond Chandler adaptations from the 50s. But and also Tony Crenshaw is shirtless, hanging out. So are you living in the living room? Are you shirtless, sleeping on the couch? Because that seems kind of weird.
Yeah.
And I think another scene we really do have to touch on though, because we had to stop it and literally try to figure out what this white girl was saying when inside the Beauty in Black hotel, where for some reason, Marley has brought the TV show host, morning show journalist to the hotel to meet Caleb, his wife, and Anna Louise, or whatever his name is, to have this inane conversation. And Anna Louise is like, I have evidence of Kevin abusing me, but I left it in a house that we used to rent. Somebody owns it now. Kevin owns the house. And why did you leave the phone in there?
That diatribe was so nonsensical. And then it's like, why did you leave the phone in there? You're telling Marla she has to find it, but you know that this house is a mansion with 12 bathrooms.
Which bathroom is it?
You don't tell her which bathroom, but then she gives her the passcode to her cell phone. which is a passcode I've never seen. It was like letters and numbers.
That's like when you go to an Airbnb and they didn't change their password, so it's the original serial number or whatever set up, so it's long.
Yeah, what Time Warner put on the box. Ridiculous. Let's end this. The battery's gonna die.
I also thought she looked a lot like if you mashed Brittany Murphy and Adele together.
Anna Lewis.
Anna Louise, whatever her name is.
Yeah. What would you give Tyler Perry's Duplicity?
Tyler Perry's latest Dymphony, 0.5. I think there's nothing redeeming about it. I don't know.
It's terrible.
Garbage.
I would give it 0.5 out of 5. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.